Welcome, John. So lovely to meet you again here.
Thank you for asking me, Luchana. Glad
Yeah,
to be.
it was maybe a month ago that we are speaking like this, and the feeling was so sweet and so, I don't know, I cannot put in words. So I would like to read something as a beginning, if you don't mind. The best work of women and men is only transient. As days fade into the mist, nature keeps on with its work. The rain will still fall, and the grass will grow. We can rest assured that spring will follow winter.
Certainly, like you, I like those words. They're full of meaning for me too. Oh, nature's the great teacher, isn't she?
I was telling that you told me something very funny in the beginning, that once a wise man told you that if you don't know what to say.
Yes. Say nothing. So you see, I'm waiting until someone asks me a question or I know what to say. At the moment, I don't know what to say, so I'm playing safe and I'm saying nothing.
So can you advise if one wants to speak a lot? What can you advise him or her?
Well, speak less. Speak less and listen more. I don't care to speak much, and I rather avoid people who do speak a lot. I think it's very good, really, to start a session like this with silence, because really, silence comes first, doesn't it? Silence is the first and last real communication. And from silence, something deeper and more meaningful is likely to arise than from a lot of nervous, excited chatter. After all, if we're interested in spirit, well, spirit is silent, isn't it? See, you and I, and maybe others who are looking at me, are looking in each other's eyes, and there is communication flowing between us, isn't there? What is it? It's love, isn't it? You don't need words. And this love goes out to everything, everyone, doesn't it?
It's like the silence is speaking.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It does, my dear. There's
In the
another,
sweetest way.
in the sweetest way possible. Yeah, there's another very good saying: silence speaks louder than words. It's certainly very expressive, isn't it? Because you see, there is this sort of communication, mouth to mouth, but there's also, you can't see my heart, can you? But there were hearts here somewhere. Heart to heart. And heart to heart really is the more meaningful communication.
It's possible to speak also, to use words. And when the words are coming from a deeper place, or maybe the quality is different. I don't know. I can sense the quality in your words. They are different. Sure. Did you learn this?
You see, we use the phrase heartfelt, don't we? Heartfelt words. Which, of course, if, for example, I was to look out of my window, well, look, no, I won't look out of my window. It's going dark now. I'll look at you, my dear, and I'll say, I see that beautiful flower behind you, and I love that flower. All right, I love you too. I love, this opportunity we have to be together. And those are words spoken from my heart, aren't they? I don't really need to know details. I don't need to know how old you are or how much you paid for that flower or your details of time and space. These things sort of in a lower order, aren't they? Heart comes straight to the point, comes to, you could say, connects with what really matters. But there are different levels of knowledge. There are lower levels of knowledge and higher knowledge, higher knowledge, higher knowledge.
Mm.
The lower knowledge tends to be more wordy, and the higher knowledge, silent.
Yeah, so I want to ask Mr. John a question. My question is, what can you learn from silence? Like, what are the teachings of silence?
I don't know what the teachings of silence are, Keanu, but I have a sort of sequence in my mind. Silence, stillness, because actually silence is still, isn't it? Silence, stillness, space. Silence, stillness, space. Where does one end and the next begin? And continue. Silence, stillness, space. Well, there you have the unlimited and the never-changing. Isn't that right? All right, continue the sequence. Spirit. What is spirit? Silence, stillness, space, or you could put in presence. Spirit. If you want to continue, you could say God. Where does one end and the next begin? So isn't silence really sort of like steps on a ladder, really? It's sort of like the first possibility of approaching a deeper understanding of spirit and God, just through the simple expedient of not talking. That's why talking is such a nuisance so often. If people talk too much, they just miss the point. You just get more and more of less and less. As you come back to stillness, and you're immediately in the eternal silence. Because silence is eternal. It doesn't change, does it? My words, they come and go. The world comes and goes, but it all happens within silence. Silence is like an invisible background to this passing world. So if we want to, whatever we're searching for in this world, peace or freedom or love, which most of us are looking for, it's right here, isn't it? It's as simple as just stop talking and be silent. There's peace. What's all this fuss about? Conferences to make peace. It's right here. Couldn't be simpler. Just stop talking. And there's peace. Of course, you've got to stop thinking too. That's what meditation's for. It needs a bit of practice, of course. So that's why I value silence so much. It's a very important sort of step, often first step, on the way to a deeper spiritual understanding.
How have you managed to develop through your times of depression And what makes you so grounded now?
I don't think I ever managed to get myself through depression. I never found a way of overcoming it. I think time, there's another good old expression, time heals. So if you wait long enough, things change, don't they? So if you're depressed, you have to live with it and it'll pass one day. This may take several years, of course. But, I remember my poor mother, I had 5 years more or less of depression, but my poor mother had nearly 10 years of it. And I remember her saying that one morning she woke up and she was no longer depressed. Just like that, after all the specialists and pills and things she'd been taking. I think depression is part of human experience and is quite normal, especially for people that are searching. Yes, those that are basically discontent with this world, which is incidentally a very good thing, because if we're happy in this world, then you won't strive for anything better, will you? So in a way, it's one of the things that we shouldn't. Those of us that are unhappy and discontent in this world are really they have a blessing, because that's the incentive that inspires us to look deeper and to find the real freedom, the real fulfillment, which is not of this world, but is of spirit. So it's a good thing, really. There's nothing wrong with being depressed, because it helps you to go deeper and to search for a higher meaning to what life's all about. Yes, I've got no answer, dear, to depression, apart from when the time's ready, it'll pass. There are a lot of things in life we don't know. God knows, dear. Many things. So I'm rather suspicious of human answers. Clever people who think they know, I don't always trust them. But certainly through my years of depression, as I have done throughout my life, my greatest comfort has always been nature. Go out in the fields and on the hills if you have any nearby. If not, just go out and look at a tree. It's funny, naturally you have those lovely flowers just behind your head, and when I saw those, I thought I'd better go and fetch some daffodils and put them behind me, you see.
Yeah.
Immediately they bring a comfort, don't they? They bring something that is, I don't know, it's just reliable, something you can trust. They don't give you any clever answers. They just make you look at them and you feel better, don't you? It's as simple as that.
It's Girish.
Hello, Girish.
Hello, John, sir. I am asking, please share with how you see duality and non-duality.
Duality.
And non-duality.
Duality and non-duality. Well, dear, until quite recently, I didn't really know what all these words meant. Look, dear, if I look beyond my computer screen, I can see the sky. Now, this evening in early March, the sky is grey and it's getting dark. But the sky is one sky, isn't it? Just one sky that contains you and me and everybody else in the world. One sky. Well, I feel at home with that, and I don't need to talk to the sky. I just feel that comfort of the great big sky that is covering me like it's covering you. Now, when you ask me a question, dear, I immediately begin to feel a little bit uncertain. What shall I say? I don't really know. But I look at the sky, and once again, everything is completely simple. No question. Now, if you want, you can call you and me and this question between us duality, and the sky is non-duality. As simple as that. The last question spoke of silence. Well, in silence, there's only one silence, isn't there? One stillness, one presence, one spirit, one God. And yet in this human world, we think of you and me and everybody else, all different, separate. So we have these two worlds, the world of unity, of one, of non-duality, and the world of duality. Well, so we have the both, like two wings of a bird, duality and non-duality. And maybe all our human problems is because we live entirely in a world of duality and forget about the non-duality. Because very often the answer to our problems is simply to look at the sky, for example, or just stop talking. And then we'll find the unity. Very simple, my dear.
Very beautiful. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
A pleasure. God bless you.
I'm going to read another question from YouTube.
All right.
Do you hear me well?
Yes.
So Katie asks, John, what helped you get through that period in America when you felt, as I think you once put it, that you were losing your wits?
What helped me? Well, Luchana, I found a job as a cook in a little cafe. It was the funniest thing. Can you imagine? I was a man of, how old was I then? I think I was 50, 53 or something, 53 or 54, a farmer. I wasn't a cook. But I was in a terrible state, really. I was very deeply depressed, and I really thought I was going out of my mind. I was really at the bottom, and I had a car I was driving, and there was a sign. I passed they call them gas stations in America, and I passed this sign saying cook wanted. So I stopped, and so I started working as a cook, frying eggs and making hamburgers and things. And I did that for 3 months. And I think just the discipline of working every day in a kitchen, doing simple work, it brought me back. It sort of helped me bring back my feet to the ground and connected me with using my hands, gave me a certain discipline, getting up early in the morning and working all day. I think very often, when our mind is going crazy, it's very helpful to just do some simple work. Better with your hands. I don't mean fiddling about with a computer, but working with your hands. I know it's difficult to find that sort of work these days because everything's done with machines, but even just cleaning your room or washing your clothes. Well, even that's done by machine now. It's difficult to find anything to do by hand, isn't it? But it's a very good traditional thing to do. It's really the original and best meditation, isn't it? My mother used to love to knit. To knit, this woolly I'm wearing, she knitted this. I've still got a lot of her woolies that she knitted for me. And she spent nearly every evening, she'd sit and knit. It was a wonderful way of bringing her mind quiet, connecting her with the present moment. It's a very good thing to do. Just working simply with your hands. Writing also helps, writing down your thoughts, but especially, again, writing with a pen or pencil on paper is much better than using a computer, because the act of writing usually connects you with making the letters on the paper. And you may know that in many years gone by, the old monks in the monasteries used to practice writing by hand, didn't they, as a way of meditation, really, of bringing the mind to rest. Yes. Well, for me, it was working as a cook. And then when I'd done that for a few months, I continued, and then of course I got away from the crazy world I had been in San Francisco, and got out into open country with things I loved, like open spaces and horses and cattle and buffalo, and then I was back at home. Then all my troubles disappeared. Yes, of course, when I came back from America, yes, of course, the depression came back again, and I was wandering around really completely not knowing what to do, and completely unexpected. I was invited to go to study at university, to study Russian. Can you believe that? A man of 55 was invited to go back to university. They called it being a mature student and study Russian. Well, I did. So I went to Russia, and I spent several years in Russia. And I became so interested in that I forgot to be depressed. I think I just forgot about it. So a new chapter of my life opened. We never know what's going to happen, do we?
How can one lose themselves, or how can one be lost?
Have we ever found ourselves? What does it mean to find oneself? Aren't we all, as Jesus says, lost sheep? Perhaps that's the human condition, that we are lost in our heads, lost in thought very often. Well, let's go back to talking. Very often when we're talking, we just talk, and we forget to be present. We very often talk about the past or the future, don't we? If we're talking about the past or the future, we're not present, are we? So we're lost in our heads, lost in the past or lost in the future. If you have a dream at night, or if you watch a film on the television, you're usually lost for an hour or two, aren't you? Lost completely. Now, there's another meaning to the word. Those that meditate, and you may look back, as it were, from a higher point of view, and be aware of your thinking. what you're thinking. I mean, it's not so difficult. We talk of, oh, I was just thinking, don't we? We often say that. Or I was just dreaming. Well, then you can say that we were lost in that realm of thought, and a higher level of consciousness gives you a sense of waking up, of finding yourself, of coming back to what is real. In contrast, this world of thinking is lost, isn't it? So really most of our lives, most of our time, particularly if you live in company and do a lot of talking, we are effectively lost. What does it mean to lose oneself? Well, there you are. We never really realize how completely lost we are until we get a glimpse of waking up. How do you know you've been dreaming? Well, you don't until you wake up. Then you say, oh, I was just dreaming. I've had a bad dream. But at the time, we don't know, do we? We're lost in it. So most of what we call our lives is similar. We are lost in it. In the ups and downs of this world, worrying about how to not be depressed or how to find the right partner or what we're meant to do in this life or cure the virus or something. And then we may have moments of waking up. And and there are many, many levels of waking up or finding oneself. And these are levels of consciousness, and each step we realize that the lower step was, in contrast, asleep or lost. We wake up to higher level. And that is finding oneself, finding what we really are, which of course is not this mortality, this transitory world that comes to pass. We are eternal spirit. That is the reality of man. And when this is realized, we could say that's finding oneself, finding the pure I am. If that I am is identified with this old man of 83 called John Butler sitting in England talking to Luchana, then that is lost, isn't it? If I'm lost in this personality, identity. But if I can keep some memory of that higher awareness and see this as a performance, as an instrument, as it were, which I'm using for the purposes of this interview, which hopefully will be of use to, interest to others, then that's another matter. That's why Jesus calls himself the Good Shepherd, come to find his lost sheep, which is you and me. Bring us back home.
John, you don't seem to get too bogged. I don't know this word.
Yes, I've got it.
Down,
yes.
bogged down by what others think of you. What's the secret to that?
Well, dear, I think that's just age. I think as a young man, I worried very much about what people thought of me, and it made me very unhappy because I thought I always thought I was failing. Fortunately, I was a farmer, and nature is much kinder than people, and animals don't criticize you, and neither do the fields and and the crops or the trees. I think that's why I always loved nature. It was much kinder than the world of man, more understanding. Yes, I always felt much more comfortable, really, with nature than I did in the world of man. I still do, actually, even in old age. And I think gradually, as I became more confident in spirit, which took me many, many years, many years. Almost all my life, really. And I'm still developing, dear. I'm still learning every day. I still consider myself quite a spiritual child, really. And I think as I've just been talking actually into that last question, as I become more confident in spirit and I give less importance to the changing opinions and things people say, so it helped me to become less bothered by people's opinions. But it's a long process, my dear, and when I was a young person, I was very deeply hurt on many occasions by other people's criticisms, unkind things that you have said to you. I suppose I, like most other people, you've got a few things sort of wrong with you, and of course, some oddities of the body and behavior, and of course, little boys especially can be terribly cruel, can't they? They can take these things and say horrid things to you, tease you. I never liked being teased, and people make fun of you. So I don't know. I don't have an easy answer to it, my dear. I just have to. I don't really have many answers to life except just keep, life just time passes and you get older and many things become easier as you get older. But when you're young, I don't think of youth as the happiest time of my life at all. I think it was probably the most unhappy time. I think I'm happier basically now I'm old, at the end of life. Yes. I suppose if I'd been young and I had all this publicity on YouTube, I'd have gone crazy. But now I'm old, I get a bit tired of it, really. I don't. Yes, it doesn't affect me very much.
Oh, beautiful. That was beautiful. Oh, okay. Kevin, this question is from Kevin. When you spend so much time in spirituality, are you attached?
Attached?
Yeah.
And, now that I spend so much time in spirituality, what does that mean? Am I attached? Well, what does the Bible tell us? The Bible tells us to love God, doesn't it? Love God. Well, I was talking about the sky earlier, wasn't I? And again, if I just look beyond the computer screen, there is the sky. Yes, I love the sky. I always loved the sky. I don't find that difficult at all. Am I attached to the sky? Well, maybe. Am I attached to freedom? Am I attached to spirit or to silence? I suppose I am, really. I love these things. Love is certainly a connective thing, isn't it? Am I attached to my friend Luchana? Well, maybe I am. You see, let's come back to silence. Let's keep it very simple, my dears. Silence. It's ever so simple, isn't it? I think one of the best descriptions of God is utter simplicity. We were talking, Girish was asking me a question about duality and non-duality. We see, duality is always complicated and non-duality is simple. Now, silence is simple, isn't it? And talking is complicated. Now, stillness is simple, isn't it? Because movement nearly always moves to, well, you're moving to somewhere or from somewhere. You're getting complicated, aren't you? Now, space contains this whole world, like a great big bubble, isn't it? It's all contained in space, in infinite space. Well, I love space. Am I attached to space? Maybe I am. I just melt into it. I'd rather, I think I'm detached. I just feel spaciousness in myself. I am space. Yes, that's a better answer, isn't it? I'm not really attached to silence. I am silent. I am still. I am space. I am presence. I am spirit. You see, that's the real answer, isn't it? Because these things are attachment is always duality, isn't it? But when you begin to realize that this infinite simplicity, undivided, is what one is what one is. You see, one is I am, isn't it? I, one, am this. Oh, how do you see, words like attachment, they don't really have much meaning, do they? One is it. One is spirit. And then you may, look back on your life and remember, for example, I was very attached to my farm. Well, my farm at that time was, in a way, I couldn't speak so confidently about spirit then, but I loved the land. I loved my farm, my soil. So attachment is a natural consequence, really, of living in this world, isn't it? When you love, our first experiences of love is always of attachment. You want to hold the beloved. As love develops, becomes more spiritual, you realize that love doesn't need to hold because it's already the infinite oneness that contains everything. And like many things, dear, attachment is something we rather grow out of. I remember when I first heard about attachment, we go through all sorts of artificial sort of things trying to not to be attached, which may work a little bit sometimes, maybe. But I think ultimately we just grow out of these lower things. That's why I'm a great believer in just meditating and just continuing every day, just keep going, keep meditating, and see gradually we grow out of the limits of this life into the unlimited spirit. And then all these problems, they just melt away. We just leave them behind. We grow out of them. grow out of our attachments. And then you see there's no problem at all. The only problem is that somewhere, sometime man fell from his original state in paradise, this realm of spirit. He fell into what's called sin, which is this mortality, the human condition. And so, as Jesus said, we must repent, which is turn back to where we've come from. Come home. Come home. We're just lost sheep in this world, and we need to come home. When we come home, it's all past. It's all forgotten. All our problems are past. We can look back and smile. But if we try to grow up before we're ready, you see, it's normally not very successful. You know, a child can't become a grown-up, an adult, before he's ready. He has to. That's why, you know, if you're depressed or something, I say just wait. Just, you know, time does everything. If we try to be too clever too soon, we only have a fall. You can't, everything has its season. I think that, you know, we have 70 or 80 years in this life because we need that long to learn. You know, people that want to be enlightened tomorrow, it doesn't usually work, does it? I think I'm still learning. I keep telling you. I feel I haven't by any means learned all the lessons, but perhaps I'm coming to the end of my preparatory school. Maybe I'm ready to move up to sort of the high school now, the next school. God knows how many more schools I'm going to go through. Some of the first.
Oh. Lovely. I'm going to read another question.
Right.
Michael said, what I am awake to when John speaks is a deep abiding love. I guess this is, it's just a sharing, it's not a question, but when John speaks is a deep abiding love.
Is this abiding love?
No, he said when John speaks is a deep abiding love.
Well, if he thinks it is and feels it is, maybe it is. Maybe next year you'll feel something else. But it's probably a step in the right direction. See, we all think when we have something that we consider a good experience, something such as abiding love, that's always within our present ability to understand that. Now, spiritual work is towards the infinite, beyond any measure, beyond any description, beyond any concept of man. Up to the point that we can understand abiding love, well, yes. But you see, next year, our horizons will have widened. We will have a broader, a deeper understanding of what it's about. We always think that our latest love experience or experience of anything is the best. Well, it is up to that point of our experience. We know no better. Maybe one day we will be blessed with yet more, deeper, more wonderful, more glorious experience. Who knows? So it's very dangerous in spiritual work to say, this is it, I found it. Because there's always more. Always. Therefore, the one fundamental instruction in meditation is to, whatever you experience, is to go beyond. Whatever wonderful things you may experience, go beyond it. There's always more, beyond. Adventure without end, my dear. There is no end to love, is there? I repeat, we are only children. Look at me, the little boy with a grey beard, still a child. What do I know of true maturity? What are we talking about? The love of God. What does that mean? How can a mere mortal such as me reflect more than a shadow of the love of God? That's why I like to come back to silence, you see, because silence is really the most truly expressive of the infinite. The moment we try to describe the infinite, we make it finite, we limit it. That's why we cannot describe God, we can only love him, love the infinite. Interesting, we cannot describe beauty, can we? We cannot describe love or freedom or peace or happiness, really. All these real things which are the children of spirit are basically indescribable.
I'm going to read another question here in the Zoom from Joanna. What do you think would be the most down-to-earth way to get into spirituality?
You've got to want it, dear. That's all. As simple as that. Stop talking. Look out of the window at the sky and reach up there. There you are. It's natural. It may help to ask yourself what you really want. What do you really, really want? When I first went to meditate, I was asked this question: do you really want? Well, I said, I want God. I didn't know what God was. Still don't know what God is, but many people say they want love, or they want freedom, or they want to help others, or they want to. But many people want peace. This day and age, many people seek for peace. Well, all these are valid things. Well, the first step towards these things are, well, as I may suggest, you can go and learn, as I did, a method of meditation, or equally effective, you may just look out of the window or stop talking. Do whatever else seems appropriate. Maybe go to a church or something, or just go for a walk, take the dog for a walk. You see, it depends really on your motivation. If you want it, my dear, there's nothing stopping you. Nothing stopping me looking at the sky, is there? Expanding out into the infinite. Nothing stopping you. You just got to want it. It's said, isn't it, that God calls us. We always see, we're so conditioned to this separate human existence. We tend to think that it all starts from me. Well, of course, to begin with, it's impossible to understand that I'm the cause of the problem. Me is the trouble. So we start off like that. So what do we really want? And most of us come up, as I say, with something like peace or love, happiness. Oh, that's okay. We must follow it. Yes, you can read holy books and go on retreats and things, and look at all these hundreds and thousands of gurus on YouTube and take your pick. It may help you, it may not, it may just muddle you up, make you confused. That's why I keep coming back to the sky, my beloved sky. I feel safe with the sky. And that's my favorite silence. Remember that sequence. I find this very helpful. Silence, stillness, space, presence, spirit, freedom. Peace. End of problems. Oh, any more questions?
Yes, just a second. John Butler's spirituality comes from being partly Russian. He knows the teaching of the Orthodox Church.
I don't know, my dear. How should I know? We're very complicated creatures, aren't we? And I didn't go to Russia until I was over 50. But of course, I was born of a Russian mother, and and Russian people are. The Russian character is very spiritual. Maybe I don't doubt that it did play a part.
There is a question here. Thank you, John. Thank you a lot, John. Like what you share, the smile bring peace. I have question. I have question. What about ordinary, simple life?
Well, dear, I'm all for an ordinary, simple life. That's how I've always considered myself an ordinary sort of man, and I've loved simple things. As you know, I was a farmer for most of my life. I just loved to work by hand, loved animals. Yes, I loved simple things. Do you know, I had a farm for many years, and I'm afraid the farm's sold now, because it had to be. But there was an old clock in the farm, and a few months ago I had this clock brought back and put on my wall here. And if I'm quiet, maybe you can hear the tick-tock, tick-tock. Can you hear it? Maybe not. Anyway, it's just there. And I love this tick-tock. I can sit here in the evenings and just listen to this tick-tock, 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 tick-tock. I love that. Yes, I like to look out of the window. There's a hillside out there. I like to watch the clouds. I like to be quiet. I don't look for company much. I like to be alone. I'm used to being alone. It's nice when you're lucky to have a good partner, good friend. Yes, I like simple food. I don't like. Yes, I'm always a bit suspicious of cleverness, human cleverness. I think I've always found it easier to get on well with simple, ordinary people. I do think that the most precious thing to acquire in this life is humility. I'll repeat that. The most precious thing we can acquire in this life is humility. And perhaps simplicity is not far away. Because as I've said to you, see, silence, space, stillness, presence, spirit is utterly simple. Utterly simple. One, undivided. So there's no need to make life more complicated than it already is. You see, all the glories of heaven, the glories of the kingdom of God, insofar as we are able to approach it, are found by just being present here and now, wherever we are. We can never be closer to God than here and now. Just sitting in your chair. Look at me. an old man sitting in my great-grandfather's chair with the old clock on the wall, wearing the woolly that my mother knitted, not quite 100 years old, but almost. My joy in a few daffodils behind me, alone in my little room. Maybe I'll have an egg for my supper. Porridge for breakfast. Nothing complicated, dears. Simple and very, very ordinary.